I come through the neighborhood, it was like a bomb blasted the city. The only house I ever bought was right here.
This is just awful. The living room and the kitchen was in the dining room, and the refrigerator was on its side, and I couldn't even get in the back rooms because everything was jammed up against the doors.
Paint cans and garbage and debris had floated from one yard to the next. The water was extremely toxic and filthy, so that when it did settle, it left everything dead and gray.
I only found out that my wife was okay after 5 days.
My mom lost this house here. My house was totally destroyed. My aunt's house destroyed, my sister's house destroyed. All the people in my family were affected by the flood, every last one of them. I don't know one person that wasn't affected by the storm.
Long after Hurricane Katrina devastated the Gulf Coast in August of 2005, things are not even close to normal in the city of New Orleans. With hundreds of thousands of people having been displaced and so many communities devastated, every home, every church, every school, and every place of business, who can predict what normal will be for this historic city? Is there hope that New Orleans will become a better place? Whatever the city's future may be, years of work lie ahead. For Corinne Zimmerman and countless others like her, after Katrina, life was turned upside down, broken apart, scattered, and emptied.
We heard about Hurricane Katrina, and we figured, well, it's going to go to Texas or Florida. But my daughter come in, she took it on herself to force us out. But my husband didn't want to leave, so he stayed. And we said, well, we'll be back, and hugged him and kissed him. And I figured, well, we'll be back in 2 days. It only took 2 days to close. But it didn't turn out that way. Come right for us.
The worst destruction wasn't from the hurricane's 140-mile-an-hour winds or the torrential rain. It was the monster storm surge, like a tidal wave that caused breaches in the levees that had separated the city from Lake Pontchartrain. Salt water poured in. In just a few hours, 80% of the city was submerged. In some neighborhoods, houses were flooded up to the roof, and it was weeks before the water receded. And what toxic water didn't destroy, mold did. It would be more than a month after the storm before families could return to check on their homes.
When we first came in, we couldn't get in the front door. There was furniture and everything just all broken up and water everywhere and everything falling. There wasn't nothing we could do but get boots and walk over everything.
Like most other New Orleans homeowners, Corinne's house was not in a designated floodplain and wasn't covered by flood insurance. She not only lost everything in her home of 48 years, she also lost her husband.
It's just total devastation all around. Unbelievable, the devastation wrought by the water and by the winds of Katrina. You see cars upturned, houses demolished, houses moved from one street to another street. Just incredible, incredible devastation.
Dennis Watson is senior pastor of Celebration Church in New Orleans. Even while the church works to recover from their flood damage, they are serving as a central point of contact and organization where other churches, businesses, and individuals can help the city with recovery.
We know that the people of our city, of our church, who've gone through Hurricane Katrina, their lives will never, ever be the same again. But in spite of the significant losses and in spite of the great adversity and difficulty, the one shining light has been the response, the compassion, the effort demonstrated by the Church of Jesus Christ, both from within the city of New Orleans and from outside of New Orleans. And the people who've come have come from all walks of life. They've come from virtually every state in the nation. And they've come to serve in different ways. Some have come to serve in our relief center. Some have gone out to tarp people's roofs. Some have gone out to clean out and gut out people's homes.
A group of volunteers from a Florida church came to help strip Corinne Zimmerman's house, and they did even more. Even as they emptied her home of a lifetime of treasures, they also lifted her spirits.
They was always laughing and talking when they were doing it. Like they kind of like enjoyed doing it. And I appreciate that. I've never seen nobody like that. One girl said she's gonna come back. And I remember her. She was a good little worker. She was, I think she was nothing but a little teenager, a high school girl. I'll never forget them. They said they'd have me in their prayers all the time.
When volunteers help, even for a few days, they can make it possible for a family to return to the neighborhood they still call home.
Help us, please. We want to be here. This is our home. We want to be here. We really do. Even after all of this, even after I pass on this street with all these condemned buildings and roof repairs and trash in front of the street, I always smile when I pass this house. This is all I know. This is where I grew up at. I had fun times in this house. I went to grade school and high school and everything here.
Charlotte's help came in the form of a group of volunteers from LifeTouch, a nationwide photography company that decided to pitch in and make a difference in New Orleans. Their week-long mission was hosted by World Servants, a Minneapolis faith-based organization that conducts short-term missions in the U.S. and abroad. In 1 week, the LifeTouch volunteers gutted the home where Charlotte grew up, as well as Howard Adams' house that had been flooded with 9 feet of water. They also renovated a large room of a school to create a youth center and helped staff the church's Hurricane Relief Center, which in the first 6 months following Katrina alone assisted more than 100,000 families. As more families return to New Orleans, the need for basic necessities and volunteers continues. It's true that New Orleans will never be the same, but there is hope that it will become a better place. And it's the Christian churches that have a vision for its renewal.
And again, because the Church of Jesus has been the shining light through all of this, government leaders, business leaders, educational leaders, and people in general are turning to the church for help. And they're turning to the church for a way to strategize, to rebuild New Orleans, not just physically, but to rebuild New Orleans in every way. And we believe that God has given us great insight. Some of the things that we're doing is we're partnering together. We brought together the other churches and pastors in our city to begin to pray together, plan together, and partner together in ministry for the first time.
My own life has been tremendously impacted by the fact that there is a new unity, a new cohesion, a strengthening of the body of Christ because we have come together across denominational lines, across racial lines.
In the midst of the destruction in front of their eyes, the pastors see a different New Orleans, a city transformed by God.
I'm here, and other pastors and churches and ministries are here because we believe that in New Orleans we have the greatest opportunity ever in the history of the United States to see a major city experience economic, financial, cultural, moral, and spiritual transformation.
The city's transformation will be supported by a new concept, Community Life Transformation Centers. Established in each community as it is rebuilt, families will be able to turn to the centers for counseling, job training, tutoring, classes, and other important services. Step by step, community by community, this transformation will take time and lots of outside help.
We need for people to be praying for us. That's one of the best things that they can do. Secondly, we need for businesses and organizations and ministries and churches to be sending volunteer teams to partner with us in ministry, to help us build out and develop these life transformation centers, to help us clean out people's homes, to help us begin the process of rebuilding homes, to help us provide training that will meet the needs of the people in these communities.
been a real blessing to have the volunteers and know someone cares enough to come and see about you.
In their actions, I saw their Christ-like love, and that has touched me and impacted me. It will for my entire life. I never forget it.
When volunteers come down to serve, they always think they're here to give something. And one of the most amazing parts of my job is I get to see their lives change before my eyes.
I think when you go through an experience like this and then you go back home, I think a lot of things will take place in how I look at people and want to treat people and help them, not only in my community, but just in my own office as well.
I promise. I think the more I give, the more I feel blessed that I can do that for others.
Whether it means gutting out someone's home or sitting down and listening to someone and listening to their story of what they experienced, or even packing a bag of clothes, walking someone out to their cars with their groceries. Man, it really taught me a lot on what it meant to be a true servant.
I didn't realize that I would get so in touch with myself and with God and just meet so many wonderful people.
My first initial feeling arriving on the site was, you do what you would want someone else to do for you. This is the most important thing I've ever done in my life.
You sure want to get in on what God's doing here.
Yeah.
To learn how you can become a part of the transformation of the city of New Orleans, contact Celebration Church.